Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. Today is Tuesday, April 27th. Thank you for choosing to be here for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. It should be no surprise to anyone that this is one of our top stories today. Governor Mike DeWine gave a bombshell at his press conference today. He said that fully vaccinated Ohioans will not have to quarantine when exposed to someone with COVID-19. Now, from the way he broached this subject, it sounds like it's a lot about sports. He said by changing the health order, students who are 16 and 17 years old who are vaccinated will be able to take part in sports and other activities even when they've been exposed to someone with COVID. He said, of course, the change will also apply to adults except for adults who are in nursing homes, assisted living facilities, or other congregate care settings, which will be outlined in the order. He said that nursing homes and long-term care facilities should continue to quarantine following CDC guidance. Speaking of CDC guidance, the CDC is now relaxing its guidelines for wearing masks outdoors. This is something we've been talking about in the past weeks, and now U.S. health officials say that fully vaccinated Americans don't need to wear masks outdoors unless they're in a big crowd of strangers. Those who are not vaccinated can also go outside without masks in some cases. Now, for the most part, over the past year, the CDC has been saying that Americans need to wear masks outside if they're going to be within 6 feet of each other. But now, this change comes as more than half of U.S. adults have gotten at least one dose of the COVID vaccine, and more than a third have been fully vaccinated across the country. Dr. Mike Saag, who is an infectious disease expert at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, says that this new guidance makes sense, that it's a sensible reward following development and distribution of effective vaccines and about 140 million Americans stepping forward to get COVID-19 vaccinations. Now, the CDC has been cautious in its guidance during the pandemic. It has now, though, with this new guideline, essentially endorsed what Americans have already been doing over the past several weeks. Well, you'll remember when we had this conversation with our 3 News viewers. We posted on social media, and many people responded by saying, "Who's been wearing masks outdoors?" Now, the CDC says that whether people are fully vaccinated or not, now they don't have to wear masks outdoors when they walk, when they bike, or run alone with members of the same household. And they can also go maskless in small outdoor gatherings with fully vaccinated people. The key there being with fully vaccinated people. Unvaccinated people, now the CDC, mind you, defines unvaccinated people as people who have not gotten both of their COVID-19 vaccination shots. So if you've only gotten one shot of Pfizer or one shot of Moderna, you fall into this unvaccinated people group. These people should wear masks at outdoor gatherings that include other unvaccinated people. And they should also keep using masks at outdoor restaurants. According to the CDC, now fully vaccinated people don't need to wear masks at outdoor restaurants or when around unvaccinated people. Now, however, everyone, according to the CDC, should keep wearing masks at crowded outdoor events like concerts or sporting events. And the CDC also recommends masks at indoor public places like hair salons, restaurants, shopping centers, museums, and movie theaters, and that sort of thing. Okay, now let's take a look at the latest COVID-19 numbers across the globe, across the U.S. and here in Ohio. These first numbers, globally and nationally, come from Johns Hopkins University. Globally, the total number of COVID cases that has been reported since the very start of the pandemic is now at 148,097,788. The total number of deaths is now at 3,124,700 globally. Here in the U.S., we have 4% of the global population. We have the most cases and the most deaths, although we do continue to see those numbers ticking down percentage-wise. The total number of cases in the U.S. is at 32,143,298. That's 22.7% of all global cases. That's down another 1/10 of a percentage point from yesterday. And here in the U.S., we've now had 572,945 reported COVID deaths. That's 18.3% of all global reported deaths. That is also down 1/10 of a percentage point from yesterday. We have new numbers from the Ohio Department of Health. In the last day, we've seen 1,560 new reported cases of COVID. That number is up. And we have new data on reported deaths now as well. Remember, Ohio has changed the way this is reported. This now goes by confirmed death certificates. So that number, new, is now 19,188. That's 66 more confirmed COVID-19 deaths since we last got numbers from the Ohio Department of Health on Friday. We've seen 179 new hospitalizations in the last day, and 1,237 people are currently in the hospital being treated with COVID. That's one less than yesterday. 345 of those people are being treated in the ICU, and we've seen 16 new ICU admissions in the last day. Here in Ohio, looking at the vaccination picture, over 30% of Ohioans have now completed COVID-19 vaccination, so 2 shots of Moderna, 2 shots of Pfizer, or 1 shot of Johnson & Johnson. That's close to 3.6 million people, and close to 43,000 people in the last day have completed their COVID-19 vaccinations. For people who have started the vaccination process, we're at over 39% here in Ohio, and that is and we've seen almost 21,000 people in the last day. Now let's get an update on the police shooting, the DEA shooting, that happened in Cleveland earlier this month. The man who was shot by a DEA agent is now speaking out. His name is Trayvon Johnson. He's 21 years old. He was shot by a Drug Enforcement Administration special agent in Cleveland on April 14th. He says he's happy to be alive and happy to see his family. He says it's a miracle for him to be here, and his family tells them that every time they see him, that he wasn't doing anything wrong and he was on his way home, and that he's in a lot of pain since that shooting. His attorney, Stanley Jackson, was there when he spoke this morning, and his attorney says that Trayvon Johnson did not brandish a gun, which is what authorities had said. That's in direct contrast to what authorities had said. Now, the attorney, Jackson, says that the only thing that would be acceptable here is for there to be someone held accountable for that, and what they mean by that are criminal charges. Now, Special Agent in Charge Keith Martin said that they were plainclothes DEA agents in a car carrying out an operation that was at East 82nd Street and Decker Avenue when 2 unrelated people, one of those people being Trayvon Johnson, approached one of the agents and brandished a weapon. The special agent said that the agent there, felt threatened and gunfire was exchanged. That's a quote, gunfire was exchanged. And one of the approaching individuals being shot, which we now know was identified as Trayvon Johnson. Now, Special Agent Martin did say that the Cleveland Division of Police will be handling this investigation and promised transparency, saying that they will have everything that they need. We are now learning about a win for transgender individuals in the state of Ohio. Ohio will now allow people to change the gender that has been recorded on their birth certificates. And now the Ohio Department of Health is working on a process for people to request this change and expects to have it in place by June 1st. Now, this all comes after a federal court ruling in December. The court in December ruled that Ohio had to allow people to change the gender listings on their birth certificates. Now, the state of Ohio could have appealed that decision, but in a court filing made on Thursday, we have learned that they will not be appealing that decision. The federal court sided back in December with 4 transgender Ohioans, and that was in a lawsuit brought by the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU of Ohio, and Lambda Legal. They all argued that not allowing changes to gender on birth certificates prevents transgender people from obtaining a document that's essential to everyday living and subjects them to discrimination and potential violence. So, from what we've seen now, we expect there to be a policy in place by June 1st for people to be able to request that change on their birth certificates here in the state of Ohio. Now, something we have been talking about for months now is what's going to happen to the tribe. What will the new name of the tribe be? Well, we've got an article up on WKYC.com where we want to know what you think. We're taking a look at where the frontrunners stand for new names for our Cleveland baseball team. The 3 News Sports team has narrowed it down to 6 top contenders for the team's new identity. Those are Spiders, not my favorite, not to sway your vote, but definitely not my favorite. Guardians, Municipals, Buckeyes, Rockers, and Cleveland Baseball Club. Now, of course, this list is not definitive. For all that we know, the team could pick a new name that no one's ever thought of before, or a new option could come about before a final decision is made. And if that happens, we will adjust and analyze accordingly, of course, but we would love to know where you stand on this. So you can go to WKYC.com and vote for what you think the new identity for Cleveland's Major League Baseball team should be. Now, in other sports news, if you were watching the Cleveland Cavaliers take on the Toronto Raptors last night, there was probably a moment in the third quarter when you were like, what is happening here? Kevin Love is being roasted on social media after a very strange play that happened in the third quarter. What happened was the ref threw the ball towards Kevin Love, and he slapped it on the inbound, putting it into play, and then the Raptors took possession, nailed an easy three-pointer, and it was confusing for absolutely everyone. Our 3 News sports reporter Nick Camino said it looked like it was out of frustration. He said that Love had to apologize to his teammates after the game, and he didn't talk to media after the game either. Head coach for the Cavs, J.B. Bickerstaff, briefly discussed it. By the way, the Cavs ended up losing that game 112-96. Ouch. And he said, you'll have to ask Kevin about that when he got asked about it. He said that they talked about it, he apologized to his teammates, and they'll move on. I think my favorite tweet that I saw from people reacting to this is someone posting, did Kevin Love just become a villain overnight? Seems like maybe he did. And another person tweeted, yeah, Love has played 17 games this year and he's making $31 million. Called him a certified clown for doing that, for making that move. Still not really sure what's going on with Kevin Love because he hasn't talked about it. But if he does talk about it, we will be sure to let you know, and you will find that on WKYC.com. Someone who is talking, though, is our Cleveland Browns quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Yesterday during a press conference, he doubled down on that UFO sighting. He said, it's real. And I saw it. He said he's a firm believer in UFOs and Sasquatch, and he's glad that the Navy finally confirmed some more pictures. The Navy did kind of put out some pictures recently about some things in the air that nobody could really explain what it technically was that they were looking at. So Baker Mayfield says now everybody doesn't think I'm as crazy. He says, I believe. Now, when this all happened, of course, Fox Sports host Colin Cowherd, he's always given Baker Mayfield a hard time. He says, yeah, you saw Baker saw a UFO. Joe Montana, Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw, and Tom Brady have never seen aliens. I would prefer my guys don't talk about it. Well, Tom Brady had the best response, if you remember. He said, how do you know I've never seen aliens, Colin? Aliens, Colin? We don't know. And with a comment like that, just leaves us wondering, right? Now, with the draft coming up here on Thursday in Cleveland, make sure you check out our draft guide on WKYC.com. That's WKYC.com/draft. It's your ultimate draft headquarters for everything you need to know, what to see, where to go, where to park, all that good stuff. All right, that's it for your 3 News Now update for Tuesday, April 27th. I will see you next up on What's New with your trending stories in Clicking in Cleveland, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for more 3 News Now. Between now and then, everyone, stay safe and be well. I'm Stephanie Haney.